The Bitcoin CME gap of last weekend is still open, so we could expect a bounce to the top side to close the gap. Also today the FTX repayments will begin and we will see a huge inflow of $60 billion into the crypto market again. And this could start a huge alt season. There's a lot of interesting news and data which is coming into the market and I will discuss with you in this video. Later in the video I will also have a look at the two altcoins, Cardano and Bittensor TAO. So you want to sit back, relax and enjoy the video all the way to the end to don't miss anything. Please like this video because it will be highly appreciated by me and it will help my channel a lot. And with that being said, let's now dive right into the charts. On the 15-minute time frame we can see that Bitcoin is still opening the CME gap because during the weekend we saw that the CME gap was respected very carefully, but after in the last hours of Sunday we saw that Bitcoin fell below this gap and we still didn't close this gap. So I think we will close this gap in the coming week. And I think we will see it maybe today to close the gap. And of course, that will bring Bitcoin all the way back to the $97,000. So this could happen today. And keep in mind that the CME gaps always get closed 99 out of 100 times. So I think we will see just the close of the gap for Bitcoin later today or maybe during the course of the week. So of course, Bitcoin looks a little bit bearish right now on the shorter time frame. But I think on the high time frames, we will see a lot of interesting bullish news. And that's exactly what I'm going to show you in this video. And zooming out to the 4-hour time frame, we can see this falling channel or falling wedge formation is unfolding. On the top side, we can see a lot of touch points here as resistance, and on the lower side, we can see multiple touch points as support. And this huge consolidation formation is now unfolding on the 4-hour time frame. And this formation is a falling wedge formation, which is a typical bullish bias pattern because we are seeing consolidation downwards, and most likely we are going to see a break to the top side, a retest of the resistance to test it as support, and from there we can aim for higher targets. And then the top side of the formation will be confluent with the breakout target and that will bring Bitcoin above the $100,000 again. But of course we could also see that Bitcoin is coming back to the lower side support to test it once again, and from there we could either see a bounce to the top side or we can break below this level, and that means that we're going to see a bearish retest, a retest of the formations to test it as resistance, and then we have to aim for lower targets. And then I'm aiming for this lower side formation, and then we will see levels around the $90,000 for Bitcoin. So for now this falling wedge formation is unfolding, and as I said, this is a typical bullish bias pattern, and I think we will see more chances to break it to the top side and that Bitcoin comes back to the $100,000. And of course, if we're going to see a break to the top side, we could also see that the CME gap is getting closed. And looking at the Bitcoin ETF flows, we can see that Friday was a little bit of a bullish day for the Bitcoin ETFs. We saw $70.6 million in total of inflows. But yesterday we didn't see anything because it was a holiday in the United States of America. So let's see if the rest of the 4 days of the trading week will be bullish for the Bitcoin ETFs. And let's then have a quick look at the Ethereum ETFs. We can see that Friday was also a little bit of a bullish day. We can see that only Fidelity was buying Ethereum. So in total we saw an $11.7 million in total inflows. And also today we didn't saw any Ethereum in or outflows because of the holiday in America. And yeah, let's see if the Ethereum ETFs and the Bitcoin ETFs can be bullish today. And zooming out to the 4-hour time frame, we can see also this huge triangle is unfolding, and this formation has multiple touch points on the top side as resistance, and also on the lower side we can see this huge block of support unfolding, and we can see that we fell below the support. We retested it as resistance, but then we saw a huge spike to the top side, and now we are seeing this price consolidation and this price squeeze of Bitcoin, and eventually the price of Bitcoin is getting squeezed into this apex, and we will see most likely a huge breakout later this week. So for instance, we are now at this huge support on the lower side, and at support you could always buy more Bitcoin for the long term, of course, and then at resistance you can sell a little bit. So from this lower side support to the resistance you can already make almost a 2% increase, and that is very interesting. That's a very interesting trade to make, especially when you are leverage trading. So this triangle is about to break in the coming week, and I think we will see a break to the top side because this triangle looks very bullish, and this price squeeze is going to eventually see an apex. So we could either see a break to the top side or a bearish break to the downside. And let me know in the comments, what are your thoughts for the Bitcoin in the coming days? Are we going to see a break to the top side, or do you think that we will see a bearish breakdown? And today the 60 billion FTX repayments will start, And this is already very bullish because a lot of these investors were already into the crypto market, and I think these investors will just continue trading into the crypto market, and most likely they will start investing into altcoins, and this could be the start of a huge next alt season. So I think you should be prepared for what's coming next, and this is just the start of the FTX repayments, because this was just for the lower budget customers. So this could be very bullish, and it will start today. And then zooming out to the daily time frame, we can see that this huge formation is unfolding for Bitcoin. On the lower side, we can see multiple touch points as support, and also on the higher side, we can see multiple touch points as resistance. Eventually, this price of Bitcoin is getting squeezed into an apex, and we are very, very close to a huge breakout. So we are either going to see a break to the top side or a break to the downside. And if we're going to see a break to the top side, I'm going to wait for the breakout target, and that will be around the top side of the formation, which is around the $180,000, which is also confluent with the previous all-time high. And of course, there could also be a bearish scenario unfolding, that we're going to see a break to the downside. And if we're going to break it to the downside, I'm going to wait for confirmation of the break. Then I'm going to wait for a retest of this previous support to test it as resistance, and then I'm going to aim for lower targets. And then the lower side of this formation will be my breakdown target, and that will bring Bitcoin all the way back to the $87,000. And of course, if Bitcoin comes back to the $87,000, I'm also going to buy very heavily for the long term, because eventually I think that Bitcoin will see prices around the $200,000 in this bull market. So buying below the $90,000 is very cheap in my opinion. And of course, always do your own due diligence, but my buy orders are set, and later in this week I will also review my price targets for Bitcoin, where I will buy more Bitcoin for the long term. And looking at another daily chart for Bitcoin, we can see that Bitcoin broke this huge resistance area some weeks ago. We are now seeing a huge retest of this resistance to test it as support. And from there we're seeing a little price consolidation. So still we are above this huge resistance area. And for instance, Bitcoin can also retest its resistance area again as a support. And from there we could also see a bounce to the top side. But for now we are above this huge resistance area. And we could also see that Bitcoin is creating a higher low play on the daily time frame. So this means that Bitcoin is still on an uptrend, and this is very bullish. And we can also see on the higher side that Bitcoin created a higher high. So higher highs and higher lows indicate that Bitcoin is still in a bullish uptrend. So I think we will see a continuation of the trend, because the trend is your friend until it ends. And we can also see this huge resistance area, this horizontal resistance level, and we came above it. We created a new all-time high, then we fell back below it, and then we also saw a huge rejection from this level. So it was now retested as resistance. And for instance, if Bitcoin comes back to this huge resistance, this would be the next make or break point, and this will be around to $102,000 for Bitcoin. So yeah, this looks very bullish, and I think we will also see this huge resistance area. You can also see this huge resistance area unfolding. So eventually we are now inside of this falling channel formation, and I think this is a very bullish buy pattern, because we are now seeing a beautiful consolidation to the downside after a huge big run up. And I think this will be the next move for Bitcoin in the coming days. And there's also some very interesting news coming into the market, and that was that the Texas Senate is going to hold a public hearing on February 18th to discuss the creation of a Bitcoin strategic reserve. So of course this is interesting to see, and a lot of states in the United States are going to create a strategic Bitcoin reserve. And they are now implementing laws to create the opportunity to buy Bitcoin for their strategic reserve. So if all the United States are going to buy Bitcoin for their strategic reserve, we will see a huge inflow of money into the market. And of course, this will have a very bullish effect on the price of Bitcoin. And some other interesting news was that the Abu Dhabi Sovereign Wealth Fund is now the 7th biggest holder of BlackRock Bitcoin ETF at $461 million. So of course, this is interesting to see, because Abu Dhabi is now buying Bitcoin, and I think America don't want to get left behind, and they're trying to get FOMO. So when America is going to get FOMO, I think we will see a huge price impulse for Bitcoin. And of course, this will create a huge war on Bitcoin, and which country has the biggest stack of Bitcoin. So I think Trump doesn't want to see Abu Dhabi have the biggest stack of Bitcoin. So I think Trump will buy eventually more Bitcoin in the future. And the first altcoin I want to have a look at is Bittensor TAO. We can see that TAO is respecting these horizontal levels very carefully, as I said in the past, and we are seeing this huge bearish trend unfolding. But of course, there's also a little bit of a bullish scenario unfolding, because we are seeing this bearish scenario, and now we created this lower low, but now we came above this huge resistance area. We are retesting this resistance as support. So if Bittensor TAO can create a higher low from here, we could potentially see also a higher high, and that could mean that Bittensor TAO is shifting from a bearish downtrend into a bullish uptrend. So for instance, if Bittensor can create this bottom here right here and create a higher low, then we could for instance also see a higher high unfold, and that of course will be very bullish, and then we can see the next staircase to the top side, and then we can see a bullish uptrend for TAO. So for now we are seeing this huge rejection around this resistance area, and this huge horizontal level was very confluent with a lot of price interactions in the past, as we can see here, and for now we are seeing this huge rejection. So also this support is now holding strong. So if Bittensor TAO can create a more topside from here, we can see that this support is holding strong. We can see a bounce to the top side, maybe break this resistance to the top side, then retest it again as support, and from there we can see higher highs and higher lows unfold. And if we have another look at the TAO chart on the daily time frame, we can also see that this huge falling wedge formation is unfolding. On the higher side we can see multiple touch points as resistance, and also on the lower side we can see multiple touch points as support, and eventually this huge formation will see a huge apex, and we will most likely see a break to the top side, because the chances are bigger that we're going to see a bullish break at this falling wedge formation, because a falling wedge formation is a typical bullish price pattern, and it tends to break to the top side more often than to the downside. So if Bittensor TAO breaks to the top side, retested previous resistance as support, I'm going to enter the market here for TAO in a long, and then I'm going to aim for the higher side of this formation, which will be confluent with the breakout target, and that will bring Bittensor TAO all the way back to the $730 or $720. So this could be the next make or break point for TAO, and let's see if we can break this formation to the top side and create some bullish interaction and bullish sentiment for TAO. And another interesting altcoin I want to have a look at is Cardano. And of course Cardano is a sleeping giant in my opinion. And as we can see here on the weekly time frame, we can see a lot of interesting resistance and support areas are getting respected very carefully. And currently we are at this next big resistance area. We can also see that Cardano maybe broke it a little bit to the top side, and it is now retesting this previous resistance as support. So this could also be very interesting to see, and this could also start the next move to the top side for Cardano. So for now we are retesting this support, so let's see if we can see a bounce to the top side, and maybe that we're going to the next big resistance for Cardano on the top side, and that will bring Cardano all the way back to the $1. So we can also see that this huge triangle was unfolding in the last months. Then we finally broke down of it. We saw a little bit of a bearish sentiment unfolding, but lately, last week, we saw a very interesting news coming in, and that was that the Grayscale was going to file for a Cardano ETF, and this, of course, was some very bullish news for the Cardano price, which we saw here. And we also saw that this huge falling wedge formation was finally breaking out to the top side. We retested this resistance as support. Then we saw a spike to the top side after the news came out. And now we can also see that this huge formation is unfolding. And we can also see a little bit of a price squeeze for Cardano. So this could be the next make or break move. We are either going to see a break to the top side or a break to the downside. And let me know in the comments, are you still bullish on Cardano? And what is your price prediction for Cardano in 2025? Personally, I think we will see levels around the $5 in 2025. And of course, that will bring a lot of money into the market. But I think we will make it for Cardano. So again, please like the video if you think it was useful. In the description under this video, you can find the links to my Telegram group, which is free. You can also find the link to my Twitter, and I hope you can follow me there as well. So with that being said, I hope you liked this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.